Don't walk so fast, though.
We've got to keep the pace up.
Yeah, I know, but, like, you do this on a regular basis. This is probably, like, my second time doing this. You need to, like, go easy on the beginners, mate.
It's your first time in the Isle of Skye, no?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's very windy.
It's a little bit windy.
Yeah.
Woo!
My journey has brought me west, across the Highlands to the Isle of Skye.
Well, it looks like Hawaii or something from here.
And joining me for this adventure is my buddy from back in London, Jamal Edwards.
Watch the slippy seaweed. Whoa! That's where the adventure starts.
Jamal told me he worried about climate change, but didn't know much about it. So I thought I'd drag him up a mountain.
So that's where we're headed. So we're gonna hop on a boat and then it'll take us over there and then we're gonna do some hiking there and meet Alan, the scientist.
How long is the hike, roughly?
About an hour and a half, thereabouts.
You're not telling me something. It's gonna be like 3-4 hours. No, I'm not going to top it, I'm going to the middle.
But we are gonna swim across.
No, I'm not, don't lie.
Nice to be out in the sea.
Yeah, mate.
Jamal is a music and digital entrepreneur. Coming out to the wilds of Scotland is a new thing for him.
Whoa! Oh. We're sitting at the front, that's why I keep getting wet. Should we sit at the back?
It's not an adventure without a bit of drama, you know?
It's salty water, man.
Can't come to Scotland and not get wet, Jamal.
All right, cool.
We just gotta brave it out.
Living a largely urban lifestyle, away from the elements, Jamal wants to know more about how climate change is relevant to him.
We're actually at the bottom of a rainbow.
No way. Look at that.
It's kind of mad.
So peaceful. Proper peaceful. Wow.
Dry land. It's pretty beautiful.
Sick.
I want Jamal to meet the scientist, Alan Hubbard, who inspired me to learn more about climate change when I was in Greenland 6 years ago. Like me, Alan has been on his own journey over the last few weeks. On the horizon is his boat, Gambo. He sailed over 2,000 miles all the way from Greenland, where he's witnessed firsthand the dramatic shifts in the landscape caused by the rapid melting of the ice sheet.
I'm Alan Hubbard, and I'm a professor of glaciology. I study ice in its many myriad forms, but mainly the Greenland ice sheet and how it's responding detrimentally to climate change.
So this is the main fjord here, and blue here indicates uncharted, shallow water. If we look where we actually are on the boat, when this chart was done, the glacier terminated here and we're now sailing into land. These charts date back from the 1970s, and now the front of the glacier, it has disappeared about 6 nautical miles inland.
Greenland is this massive, massive ice sheet, 6 times the size of the UK, over 3 kilometres thick in places, and it is just an immense beast of an ice sheet. And to witness the rates of change in my lifespan is actually mind-blowing.
I am actually flabbergasted at how much this ice front has retreated even in the last few years. The last time I was here 3 years ago, These glaciers around here that have now split up into their little entities were advanced onto this island, but the ice has retreated that far back. So maybe I could jump on it and plant a Welsh flag and claim it as new territory for the Principality of Wales.
To find that these systems are moving and shifting so fast, yeah, it's kind of mental trauma, I think you get from it.
Alan is joining me and Jamal here on Skye. He and I will then complete our journeys together when we travel to the COP26 summit.
Hello!
Got there eventually.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty epic entry. Alan, hey, good to see you. How are you?
Again.
Alan, this is Jamal.
Hello.
Jamal, the one and only Alan.
Nice to meet you, man. Nice
Hello,
to meet you.
Jamal, a real
Right.
pleasure. There we go.
Alan wants to show us a specific part of the island. What Jamal doesn't yet know is it involves a river crossing.
I'll let you step first so you see how deep it is.
Okay.
Oh, Jamal, you're in for a treat.
Why, man?
Do you want to give me a hand? That's what friends are for, man. I got you.
If it takes an hour to walk around, I'm walking back round. I'm not walking back through this.
This dramatic terrain that Alan is challenging us to walk through was sculpted over tens of thousands of years during the last ice age, when glaciers up to a mile thick scoured the bedrock. The great ice sheet from that period shaped huge parts of the landscape across the British Isles.
That's look pretty steep, isn't it?
Yeah. It's super grippy, right?
I learned about glaciers in school, and I thought they were these systems that were literally glacial on timescales.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh my God, this is mad.
The textbooks always told us that you have millennia. Ice ages came and went over hundreds of thousands of years. And so it is a complete transformation. Get real, get with it. It's happening. It's happening faster than the models predict.
We made it!
That's what I see in the data that I collect at the Greenland ice sheet, which is this great interface between the atmosphere and ocean. The rates of change there are scary, and the textbooks need to be rewritten.
So I brought you here today because this is absolutely one of the most spectacular, sublime landscapes there is in Britain. It's like the glaciology textbook. This is it. We've screwed with the composition of the atmosphere by shunting fossil fuels, CO2, methane, into it to the point where we have artificially raised the temperature of the globe. Anthropogenic climate change has been something that really only started with the industrial age and is taking place in a timescale of decades. And the Earth is responding to it in decades. What I see in Greenland now blows my mind away.
Listening to you speak, some people might say, oh, well, like, the ice has melted before, so why does it matter? Like, why does it matter for us? You know, Jamal and I live in London. Why does it impact us that the ice is melting?
I must say, even in London, you're, like, vulnerable. I mean, there's just multiple facets to climate change. People think, oh, bring it on, we'll have warmer summers. It doesn't work like that. We're getting more extreme weather events, rainfall events, extreme snowfall events in winter, super hot places that are becoming inhospitable, and huge agricultural areas that are affected by drought. So effectively, the atmosphere's got more energy into it, and that's screwing up all the patterns. 10 years ago, I was pretty cynical about it. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, I go to Greenland and it's melting a bit. The glaciers I did my PhD on in the Alps have effectively gone.
Like I always say, knowledge is power, innit? There's no silly question, because like, even when I come here, I'm thinking, I don't know what a glacier is, but can I ask what a glacier is? Am I going to look silly?
Of course you
So
can
it's
ask
like,
what a
I know,
glacier
but
is.
that's what loads of people think.
Yeah.
If there's certain questions, but I can't ask that. That might be the most simple thing. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing that people need to get over.
No question is stupid when it comes to this topic. You said earlier that 10 years ago you were much more cynical. What is it that's changed?
I realise that being cynical is just an easy escape, really, escape from responsibility.
For anyone who's in any doubt about the need to take action, the powerful testimonies of those who live and work across the Arctic can no longer be ignored.
The nature is really harsh. You have to know what you're doing. One of the first things you have to do before you can go out alone is to get a gun and to learn how to shoot. You have to learn how to rescue yourself from a kayak in the cold waters. You have to learn about the glaciers and how to drive or walk on them. You have to learn about avalanche dangers. So there's so many fears you have to overcome to live here. My name is Line Nagel Ylvisåker and I'm 39 years old. I worked as a journalist in Svalbardposten for 12 years. In Svalbard, people come from all over the world. You have people who come for adventure. I guess I was one of the adventurous ones. Longyearbyen used to be a mining town with a lot of people coming up from Norway working in the mines. And we had a more stable population. I think it's a great paradox that Svalbard is now in the fastest warming region in the world. And at the same time, we're kind of based on coal mining.
Svalbard is almost like the canary in the coal mine. Change is happening faster there than anywhere else. But those changes will affect us all. In December 2015, the dangers of our heating planet became suddenly and horrifyingly real for Line. After an extreme winter storm event, an avalanche hit Longyearbyen. A huge slab of snow, 200 meters wide and up to 4 meters high, slid down the hillside.
It crashed into 11 houses, and in those houses there were families waking up in the morning. 2 people died, and I knew both of them, and one of them was a child the same age as my daughter. So of course it was a great sorrow for the whole town, and also me very much emotionally. You think you're safe in your own house. That's one of the places you really feel safe. So when there's a big storm coming in, then you go into your house to stay safe. And if you're not safe in your house, where can you be safe then? So it was all these questions coming up. I got scared or worried about how the future of my children would be. And the nature was kind of in a way that I didn't recognize. And I didn't know all the connections. Why is the weather like this? What's happening to the ice? I needed to put everything together to get the whole understanding.
Feeling increasingly uneasy, Line wanted to know more about the changing conditions in Svalbard and began to use her journalistic background to investigate the impacts of global warming on her surroundings.
I thought about it for some time because I knew that going into this topic would be really hard, both going back to the avalanche and to really take in all the problems we will have with climate change. But I decided it was so important that I just had to do it.
Longyearbyen is the fastest warming place on Earth. What is happening there is an urgent warning sign for the rest of the world. The avalanche exposed the speed and extent of climate change in Svalbard. And the instability of living there has forced changes to the very construction and fabric of life.
A lot of measures are put into place in Longyearbyen after this happened. We got this avalanche warning system. There's a lot of new barriers being built. A lot of houses have been demolished due to the danger of different kinds of natural hazards.
Here in Svalbard we have permafrost in the ground, which makes it extra important to build solid foundations, especially now with the climate change. If you don't build them deep enough, they will move in the permafrost when it thaws and freezes again.
My children are aware that things might change and that we have a lot of dangers around us. They have lived here all their lives, but I'm not sure how long we're going to stay. We've tried to talk with them about everything, tried to say that things will change, but it's also difficult to talk to the children about this because I don't want to scare them either. My world is melting. I'm afraid we'll lose the Arctic as we see it today.
Greenland and the Arctic is a part of a global circulation system, both the atmosphere and ocean. Hell, it's a cliche, but what goes on in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic, and it impacts us in a multitude of ways.
Being here and talking about these issues, you can almost feel how connected we all are, no matter where we live. Every continent is linked in one global system.
We're already seeing parts of Antarctica, the peninsula, starting to melt and retreat. And when we think of the size of that ice sheet, and that ice sheet has sufficient ice locked in it to raise sea levels by 50, 60 meters. And that is a crazy idea to think about. That is all of London gone.
What do you think you've learned over the last couple of days?
I just get swamped, like overwhelmed with just so much information. When I was sitting down with you and Alan, I learned a little bit more of a simplified way of what we're doing to this earth. Opened my mind a little bit. Climate change is happening anyway, and it has happened over a period of time, but we've made it happen way more quicker over 2 decades. It's a bit scary, mate. It's a bit scary. It's gonna happen, like, all we can do is slow it down.
Yeah.
Me realizing that now is important, like not realizing it in 10, 20 years. And I feel like I'd be very selfish if I didn't do stuff like this or try and educate my audience in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for allowing me to do my little bit, my little bit on the side.
I'm glad you came, man.
Yeah, good
It's
fun,
been
man.
really nice.
You know, it starts on an individual basis. And I think it's good to be challenged in that way. At every step, you have to kind of think what you're doing and why you're doing it, and be careful about your motivations.
Howdy.
Hey,
What glorious weather.
and it's a little choppy out there.
But at the same time, we are organised in societies, and our politicians need to be told what it is that they need to do. At some point, governments are going to be accountable for what's going on.
I'm a little concerned, Alan. Should I be concerned? How experienced are you?
I've got your best interests at heart. You know me. You know me.
The boat's ready, and there's no turning back now.
Oh, yeah, it's a bit windy out here, isn't it?
Glasgow COP26, here we come. I can't believe this is finally happening. In the next episode of Seat at the Table,
Where are we?
we make it to Glasgow after an epic journey.
I can't believe it.
And I'm finally going to attempt to share the stories of the amazing people we filmed with world leaders at COP26.
I think we might just have a shot at tackling this thing.